Matt, let's talk about the reigning champions first. A record-breaking last season for Manchester City, winning the league by a staggering 19 points. That's a massive difference for any team to make up, and they have to be the overwhelming favourites this year too.
Yeah, they are favourites. They've got to be favourites because of last year alone. Obviously, a little bit of recruitment has come in Adrian Mahrez, for example, But I think also what you can't take for granted ever in the Premier League is that on any given year, any of those top 3, 4, 5 teams can mount a serious challenge and run away with the league, potentially in some cases.
Matt, Pep Guardiola has at times in the past with Barca and Bayern Munich found it difficult to keep his players hungry the year after a big season. Is motivation perhaps his biggest challenge in this season?
Motivation, I mean, for Pep, he's that type of character anyway. He's full of energy. He's very charismatic in how he deals with his group. But I think the type of players, there's a lot going to be hungry. 1 or 2 World Cup winners in there, 1 or 2 players who missed out on winning the World Cup and getting to the latter stages. So I think they'll transfer some of that frustration back into their club, ready for next year to retain the title, which is very important, as we know.
Does there have to be a degree of innovation as well in their style of play? Because other teams would all have been working hard to crack this City code this season, and the league hasn't been defended in a decade now.
Pep is one of the most innovative coaches. I don't think anybody can hide from that. I'm sure he will come up with something that's not reinventing the game, of course, but I'm sure there'll be something, a small niche somewhere in the setup of Manchester City this year that will allow them to take not so much the next level, but maybe a few more forward steps.
Okay, so more of the same from City's perspective. But Matt, many neutral observers seem to think Liverpool are likely to be closest to City this term. And it's hard to argue with that logic, isn't it? They did have a great last season. On top of that, they've bought 2 solid midfielders, a world-class goalkeeper and some cover in the attacking positions. Yeah,
I mean, I like Klopp. This rock and roll style of football that he brings to his clubs, I like the sound of it. I'm not a Liverpool fan, but I did enjoy watching them at times last year, especially the front 3 without needing to mention any names. But for me, I saw something on social media just yesterday, and it actually, if Klopp doesn't win the Premier League this year or the Champions League, with the recruitment that he's put in place to build on last year, then I think serious questions have to be asked of Jurgen Klopp also.
And there are bound to be expectations after over £330 million spent over 2 summers. But a criticism of Klopp in the past, Matt, has also been that while his teams are excellent in cup competitions, they do tend to struggle over a 38-game league. How does he try and address that? Does it just have to do with squad depth?
No, I mean, it's easy for me to say standing here now. But you could arguably, look at the top level. They're obviously machines, they're physically well-tuned. But to play that high-intensity rock and roll constantly for 38 games, plus maybe in total between 8 and 12 cup matches across all of the other 3 competitions that they could play in, for example, it's not easy. It's very, very challenging and tiring, even with a good squad, and good depth, because you will pick up cautions, suspensions for that matter. You will pick up niggles here and there, which are maybe not muscular, but, he has improved that. This year, there's a lot of comments from Raymond Vahaya in the last 18 months. Klopp hasn't managed his team well in terms of recovering the players properly and reducing the muscle injuries, or soft tissue injuries rather. But now he's done that. And because he's done that, I believe that that improvement should help the team for this year. Hopefully he'll continue to carry on that good work.
Looking at new acquisitions for Liverpool, Matt, we know about Alisson, a world-class goalkeeper coming in, Xherdan Shaqiri as well, but the 2 midfield recruits really stand out, Naby Keita and Fabinho. What dimension do you think they add to this already dangerous Liverpool team?
Well, again, they're fantastic athletes. They're specimens. The way that, for example, Fabinho can break up play, the way that he can retain the ball also when he breaks up that play to help his team is nothing short of a world-class level. Of course, Keita, coming from the Bundesliga, it's not a dog and duck league by any means, as we know. High accolades, but it is their first season in the Premier League. It's not easy. The fastest league in the world, the most physical league in the world. The crowds are tight, like they are in many stadiums. I understand that, but the home of football, so to speak. There's a different smell there, and they've got more pressure. You're playing for Liverpool Football Club, without any disrespect, not Monaco, and you're not playing in the Bundesliga. It is one of the biggest football clubs in the world, and that comes with huge pressure. From every single day that you wake up and you go into training. Can they handle that? I don't know that answer yet. We'll only see, obviously, after maybe the first 10 games.
We'll wait and see about that, but things are certainly looking up for Liverpool. Let's talk about Manchester United now, Matt. You'd assume that a team that finished second in the league last year should be second favourites, but there's been a real air of negativity and scepticism around the Red Devils over the last month, and a lot of that appears to have to do with Jose Mourinho, who sulked and complained a lot, even by his standards. Are we seeing that dreaded third season syndrome that we've come to know and even perhaps expect from Mourinho?
Maybe. It's a common trend with him, but of course I don't think that you can ignore the fact that he's also very, very good psychologically. He may be doing this to spur his players on, knowing that the people at the top end are not getting the deals done. By looking at 6-7 centre-backs, is he now driving Phil Jones and Chris Smalling to actually, trying to be diplomatic about it, throw it back in his face, so to speak? But he may be sitting there at home in his office with his feet up thinking, I'm comfortable with the squad. I needed one or two. I've got Fred in, and I'll just wind him up a little bit. I'll just crank it up just to see what reaction. We'll go out, play against Leicester on Friday evening, and we'll take them to town.
You get the feeling that United's season will hinge on how well Mourinho can get the midfield to perform, and in particular their French World Cup winner in Paul Pogba. There were lots of reports about Pogba eyeing moves to Barcelona or Juventus, but they haven't materialized. Do you think Fred could be the signing that gives Pogba the freedom he perhaps needs to really shine?
Maybe. Again, he's a new player to the Premier League. So like we spoke about Keita and Fabinho, he will be technically gifted. He has a good engine. He's very good carrying the ball. But at the end of the day, it's for a season. And I don't want to be too cliche or sitting on the fence, but we just don't know about Fred. But, we do know he's got enough quality. Can he handle Manchester United, the biggest club in the world, not one of the biggest clubs? And I'm not a Manchester United fan, by the way. But there's no doubt about that. He has to step up and perform. There's no looking over his shoulder. He has to go and do it. So maybe he will be one of those pieces. But again, Pogba's a World Cup winner. He should be going out there and doing it himself, not needing somebody else to rely on to allow him to unleash his quality. He's got enough of it.
So final verdict then on Manchester United. And I have two questions, Matt. Will they be a threat? And also, bookmakers feel Jose Mourinho will win the managerial sack race this season. Do you see him surviving until May?
Yes, I think he will stay. Unless he absolutely throws a spanner in the works and walks out, I don't think that he will leave. I think they will keep him there. I think really they know what type of manager they have and what he's made of and how he is. They will just deal with it quietly. He's obviously frustrated he didn't get one or two extra players, a centre-back, for example. That's not his fault. That's the people at the top end. And because of that, I think that he'll be fine.
Matty, it's brave to have a quiet transfer window given the activity of the clubs around you, but Spurs are the only team across Europe's top 5 leagues this season and the first in Premier League history to not sign a single player in the summer window. Is that smart or questionable?
Maybe he's just comfortable. Maybe he's happy with what he's got in the squad. He took a lot of youth team players to America. Pochettino, maybe he's happy with what he saw. Maybe they couldn't get the deals over the line. There was obviously big news about Jack Grealish from Aston Villa for big money, but they didn't get it done. And Spurs are very cautious with the money that they spend. They've not got a bad squad. They've got a very good squad, and maybe he doesn't want to unsettle them. 2 or 3 players in, 2 or 3 players out. That's a rotation of 6 in a squad of 25 in the Premier League. you know, that's 20% of your team changing that you may have been perfectly happy with, except for obviously not winning the league.
Now, they didn't win a trophy last year like they haven't in the last decade, but you still felt they had a good season. You felt that the one thing they lacked is the experience of playing big matches. But how much of an impact do you feel England's run to the World Cup semis make in this context, considering the core of that English team was made up of some of the leading Spurs players?
Yeah, I think it obviously gives us some confidence, but, you know, without bringing down England's performance in the World Cup, you know, they did, you know, they played well, they did okay, but at the end of the day, they beat teams they should have beat. The teams that they had to come up and do well against, they didn't win those games. So, you know, all they would have got from that is a bit of confidence to play on the world stage, you know, fans getting behind the team for a change, and the media. So I would like to think that they'll have a little bit more confidence, but whether it'll be enough to push them that step further, I'm not so sure.
So no changes at Spurs, but wholesale changes at Chelsea. Another new manager. It's a sight the world is quite used to seeing now. Maurizio Sarri is very highly rated by his peers, but he's a completely different style and system to what they were playing under Antonio Conte.
Yeah, complete contrast. You know, Jorginho coming in for big money is somebody that obviously will be the engine in the heart of the team in terms of taking the playing style over for Chelsea. You know, there's still some scrutiny in terms of course, are people happy that Eden Hazard, for example, but he can't move now because the window's closed. Courtois, will he have affected the rest of the group? Probably not, but I think, you know, it's exciting to see Chelsea. You know, Gianfranco Zola as the assistant coach. This is a little bit of sentimental value to the group. And, you know, I think that we should see some big things from Chelsea this year.
It's been a weird transfer window for the Blues. They've bought a young goalkeeper to replace Thibaut Courtois at a world record price. They've brought in Jorginho in midfield, but they do still appear short in defence and strike options, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, in the forward line for sure. I mean, Morata did very well last year, but, you know, for me, Chelsea need a little bit more. You know, he's completely different to what Costa is. He's too nice also for me. He's not quite nasty enough, you know, to lead the line for a big team. You've either got to be exceptionally talented or you've got to have that little chip on your shoulder. And for me, he doesn't have either of those. But there's no doubt he does have quality.
Now, Sarri seems to be keen on playing a back four, which would be a big change from the three they played under Conte. But do Chelsea have the personnel for that? Alonso hasn't looked as comfortable in a four as he did in that wing-back position.
Yeah, it depends on what they work on. I mean, they may take time to gel, but of course, you know, Alonso has played predominantly in that wide left wing back position. But you know, the other three sides, centre back and wing and right side of the back four, will be fine. It'll only be Alonso that's a little bit uncomfortable. But I think, you know, the quality that he has, he may be a little bit under pressure defensively, but generally I think he'll be fine.
Okay, final thoughts on Chelsea, Matt. Will they be top four challengers this year, or do they perhaps need one more season to first adapt to this new style under Sarri?
Challenges. I think they'll win a lot of games by a 1 or 2 goal margin because they don't quite have that strike force. But of course, they've always got Eden Hazard, so I think they'll challenge Man City.
Brave call there, Matty. Let's talk about the last of the top 6 from last season. Big campaign for Arsenal, isn't it? Losing a towering figure like Arsene Wenger after 22 years can never be easy. Have they appointed the right man in Unai Emery to take over the reins at the club?
Yeah, he did a great job with Sevilla. You know, at PSG, we've got a top team there in the league that's not very strong, so that's questionable. Seen a lot of his training videos from Arsenal pre-season. A lot of defensive work. This is interesting. You know, Arsenal are all about the playing style and the possession game that they've had for many years under Wenger. So this defensive frailty, I think he would have recognised it. He's tried to correct it early and prepare them. But they've got a tough start. You know, it's not easy.
He's brought with him defensive midfield options, signed 2 defenders in Lichtsteiner and Socrates, and a goalkeeper as well in Bernd Leno. It's clear that Emery is trying to plug Arsenal's biggest weakness in recent years, that is conceding too many goals.
Yeah, for sure. But again, you know, all new players to the Premier League. all new players playing together. They need to gel. They need to be able to ensure that very, very quickly they have that non-verbal communication and understanding when they defend it, because you're in the fastest league in the world. One has come from Italy. The league's not so strong. In a top team, has been strong for many years. And Socrates coming from Dortmund, playing in Germany, slower than the Premier League ultimately. So we need to see what they're about in difficult situations, on the turn, in behind, which is what the Premier League can be about.
All right, same question as I asked for Chelsea. Do you see Arsenal making a drastic improvement this season, or will it be more of a slow rebuild?
Slow rebuild, fighting for fourth again, first year.
Fourth again, that will be an improvement for Arsenal fans. Now, we've spoken about the Big Six, Matt, but the beauty of the Premier League is that even a club like Fulham, that has been promoted this season, has spent £100 million on signings. Everton, Wolves, West Ham, they've all been quite active. Who do you think among the rest of the crop will be the best and perhaps do what, say, a Burnley did in the last campaign, finishing 7th?
I would like to see Fulham because of the investment. They've obviously done their work and their research analytically because of the connection with the owners, with the American Football League, the NFL. Because of their background in analytics, they would have, again, delved right into every signing, and they've paid money because they believe it. So I think Fulham, I'd like to see them do well. Nice little London club also, a little rival to Chelsea and West Ham. So I'd like to see them push.
Yes, Fulham bringing a bit of money ball to the Premier League. Quick predictions, Matt, before I let you go. Who wins the league? Who finishes in the top 4? And which of the English sides do you think will make it the farthest in Europe?
Manchester City, Chelsea, Manchester United, Liverpool, and I think Liverpool will push the Champions League again.